Hello. Heap of shit. Has to go across the pits. Now, what this video is, now I promised when I started this fucking channel that I'd let you know what to do and what not to do if you were buying a bike or a car or whatever. And one of the things you should never do is buy anything that has been driven consistently in red dirt. Don't do it. Just don't do it. For some reason, especially on motorbikes where there's a lot of exposed alloy, and I'll get up close so you can see, especially on them, it corrodes alloy. There's something in it that's corrosive and I don't know what it is because I've never looked into the sort of chemical makeup of it. It's probably got something to do with salt in the soil. Because a lot of Australia used to be, millions of years ago, used to be a seabed. And you probably find that, well, we know there's a lot of salt in the soil because there's salt lakes everywhere. So I think that's what it is, but I don't know. I don't know the science of it. But it just eats everything. And when you try and refinish them, what you end up with is, I don't know if you've ever tried to restore something that's been parked near the beach all its life. That's made of aluminium, it gets pock marks in it, like acne scars in the aluminium, in the castings. And even if you wet blast them or do anything like that, they're already sort of ruined. And there really isn't a lot you can do. It's bad. So I'll take you around this bike and give you a look at what I'm talking about. And you can see the staining on the head there, the red dirt. And this, I've washed the fuck out of these. I haven't blasted them because I told him not to do it because it really wasn't worth it. You can see where the paint's come off that front bit there, that fin, and that red dirt's just attached. Well, to get that off, you've got to scratch it off literally with emery cloth, which is what we call sandpaper basically in engineering terms. This is a particularly shitty bike. In fact, I had to replace the carb body on the other side. Not this particular one, but the one on the other side. I had one. I had a second-hand one, which is really good for him because the seat was damaged. I pulled it out. I didn't have another seat to put in, but I had a carb body. So the corrosive thing, if you look under here, ooh, I've got to loosen this up. By the way, I've got a new if you look under there, you'll see those plugs that someone's arrowed into the bottom of the rust holes in the tank, in the bottom of the tank. Yeah, that's what red dirt can do. If you've got a tank full of red dirt and with a bit of moisture in it, it'll just eat right through steel. Yeah, this is the carb body that I replaced. Sorry, a bit close there. You can see, well, you can see. At least he's got a carb that works now. I put a good fuel filter in there with a cloth element that'll stop everything that's coming out of the tank because I don't really want to pull this tank, like pull everything out of it and wash it out because I don't want to put another hole in it or dislodge any of this stuff. So this motor got a full rebuild and it needed it. The guy had rebuilt the carb himself, and one of the problems with BMs, and a lot of bikes actually, it's not just BMs, when you've got a carb that's on an angle like that, the needle and seat, if you leave the fuel on while it's parked, if you leave the fuel on when it's parked, or if you park it on the side stand, which this bike doesn't even have a side stand, it's actually broken off. That's where the side stand's meant to be. There's a great big long bracket that hangs down from here, but this is what happens to them. They always break because they're fucking useless. Especially on these 81 to 84 models, they're a terrible side stand. There is one you can buy that works really well, but anyway. Oh fuck. Oh boy. Early onset dementia. Oh yes. When you leave your bike when you leave your bike parked with the fuel on, if the needle and seat isn't working properly, or there's something wrong inside the float bowl where it's not sealing properly, what can happen is fuel can just start flowing, and it'll flow through the carb into the barrel and fill up the cylinder with fuel. And what will happen if the inlet valve's open a little bit and the exhaust valve's closed, what will happen is the fuel will just go past the rings and into the sump. Now when I got this bike, I pulled the dipstick out and all I could smell was petrol. And when I drained it, it had like 2 litres of oil in it, which it should have, like 2.5 litres of oil, and it had about 2 litres of petrol. Well, that's terrible. Petrol contamination is a really good way to fuck a perfectly good motor. You will destroy it in no time because the oil just can't do its work when it's that watered down. So this bike was saved from almost certain death. If you tried riding it around the way it was, it would just shit itself and fucking probably torn up the cases. And not that it couldn't have been fixed, but Jesus Christ, I mean, you know, how far do you want to go? So it's got this, everything on it is wrong. I had to put that little Chinese ignition switch on it, which works nicely. It's okay. It's not quite conventional for one of these, but it'll do the job because it had no ignition switch. It's got no indicator. Those wires poking through there, that centerpiece there. I'm going to hook them up to a couple of these little lights, just to tell him that his indicators are wrong, because there's nothing more embarrassing than tearing down the road with your indicators on the whole time. It's got an ATE front caliper, not the old style ATE, but the new style one, which they only fitted to R65s and R45s, which is what this is an R65. I think it's an 81 to 84, but I think it's an 83 model actually. I had to do a lot of work on his electrics, replace the brushes in his alternator. I had to rewire the main power wire coming off his diode board. Yeah, there was a lot wrong with it. This bike had just been ridden around in red dirt and not given any care at all, but you see the red dirt gets everywhere. Look inside there. It's just full of fucking shit. And the only way to get it off, like I say, is with a wire brush or with, you know, and look how it affects the paint. It just eats it. Not that the paint on these frames was much good anyway, but you see how it just starts to fall off after a while. It was very thin, the paint, especially this era. It wasn't powder coat. It was just a thin veneer of, just a thin coat of like enamel. And it just comes right off. Every one of these I've owned myself, I've owned one, and has come through the workshop, has been like this. The frames just, yeah, the fucking paint just comes off them as soon as you touch them or start riding them. So that's a bit disappointing about these models, because these are one of the best bikes that they made. The ones with this CDI ignition system, generally the most reliable. Yeah, the best to ride. They're the Nicker Steel barrels, and this is, considering this has been ridden through red dirt all its life, it must have had a good air filter in it, because they're still good. Oh, the other thing about this bike, it's a bit hard to see here, but if you look, oh gee, you can't even, oh, where is it? Oh, must be on the other side. I did that one as well, but I can't see it. Oh, there they are. Sorry, I'm looking in the wrong place. You can sort of see here some welding marks. All these 1, 2 were broken off, the fins. So I it's a thing that I do for people. I find them on the other side as well. Yeah. Yeah, okay, underneath there you can see the new fins, 1, 2 that I've welded on. That one's not so good, but it's okay. It'll certainly do the job, that's for sure. And it's on there, and it looks like a fin. Unless you get up really close, you can't really notice. It looks like it's got fins on it. But yeah, they were all smashed off. Someone obviously hit them with a hammer or something. And what I do is I get a barrel that I'm not going to use out of my pile of barrels. I just cut the fins off, shape them, and weld them in. That's what I did with this one. Plenty of good fins on that still I can use, so yeah. So a shitty little bike, and hopefully we can do a pretty good job for him, make it reliable, and he'll get another 10 years out of it. I'd probably advise him to look for another fuel tank or get someone really competent to replate the bottom of this one. Actually weld in new steel. Yeah, fuck, I don't know who'd do that, to be honest. But yeah, shitty grips, everything. It's just had no real proper care by a BM mechanic. It's just been taken down the bike shop, inverted commas, and someone's just fucking gone at it. Yeah, it's pretty bad. He's put new headers on it, but yeah, whatever. It's all there though. I bet it keeps going, but he'll be back. And with that, oops. And with that, we say good night. I haven't done anything for a while, and I promised to do that. So this is a warning about red dirt. Whenever you see a car or a bike or, I don't know, fucking whatever, it's been in red dirt all its life, just avoid it. It's terrible. And never buy anything in the rain or at night. See you.